you're welcome, Minister Monaghan. I suppose every autumn when students are about to go back to school, we, or any of us that live in rural areas, are inundated with contact from parents distressed over the fact that their child hasn't got a school bus ticket for the coming school year. And they're only notified of this maybe within a week or two of returning to school. And I suppose it mostly applies to post-primary school, but it can apply to primary school as well. And it's based on the department rules which set down that you have to live not less than 3.2 kilometres from your local primary school, 4.8 kilometres from your local secondary school, and be attending your nearest school to be deemed eligible and therefore get a school bus ticket. Now, I know there were what were called temporary alleviation measures drafted in 2019 and introduced then, and they've been in place since, which allowed students in second level schools attend their second nearest school, like get a bus ticket for their second, if they were attending their second nearest school. They did have to pay for it, even if they had a medical card, but at least they got and were assured of a school bus ticket. But it meant that all the other students there were waiting to see if there was space on the bus so that they could get a concessionary school place. And this is very stressful for parents. I mean, I know where I live, for example, there are 4 schools in Cavan, 2 in Granard, 1 in Oldcastle, and they're all within a similar distance of each other from where I live. So if my children were attending any of those schools, they would deem to be, their 3rd or 4th nearest school, even though they're all at a very similar distance. And this time last year as well, or last August, 18 students in my area who had bus tickets on a bus going to one of the schools in Cavan were told within 2 weeks of the school they had no bus ticket. Some of them had had bus tickets for 4 years, and suddenly they were left without transport to school. And this, again, was very stressful for parents. Parents were working, they had younger children that they had to get to creche or primary school, and it meant they were scrambling for a number of weeks to try and get their children into school. It was resolved after some time, but I don't know why it couldn't have been resolved before they were due to go back to school. In the meantime, a school transport review has been carried out. It was published early last year, I think it was roughly around February of last year, and it made a number of recommendations, which was to reduce the school distance for primary school from 3.2 kilometres to 2 kilometres and then to 1 kilometre, and for post-primary to 2 kilometres from the 4.8. But it was also, more importantly, to abolish the nearest school rule. So my question is today, are those recommendations actually being implemented in the 2025-26 school year? And if so, it means that practically all students applying for a school bus ticket will be deemed eligible, which means then we need a much increased capacity. So therefore, has the Department of Education invested in the school fleet within Bus Éireann? I know they will have to rely on private contractors to provide some of the services as they do now, but there aren't sufficient private contractors to provide a service for the increased capacity if these implementations or if these recommendations are implemented in this school year. And there's also a problem with getting drivers, so I'm just wondering how that has been addressed, because both acquiring additional buses and the drivers to drive the buses requires planning. It can't be done in a matter of a few weeks. Now, I know the portal is currently open now for students to pay for their school bus ticket or put in their medical card details, so they will know fairly soon how many students are applying for bus tickets. But the planning needs to have started actually long before this to ensure that there is sufficient capacity to accommodate all of the students that are requiring a school bus place. So thank you.